everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Motivate with Coach Camp. I, of course, am your host, Coach Camp, and we are down here in the salaciously seductive studios of SRP here in Hernando, Mississippi. Today, I have a really awesome guest. Look, this individual, I'm going to tell y'all something. You know if a person's into it or not whenever they are willing to sacrifice and work for something. This individual drove up, got here fresh, hot off the interstate just minutes ago from Biloxi area down at the coast of Mississippi. His name is Mr. Mike McGill. He is running, I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm going to read it straight from the paper so I don't mess this up. He is running for the 4th Congressional District in Congress. He is a former Army veteran, combat vet. Is that correct?
Yep, sure.
And, also former police officer. Yep. So you wanted to come up, you wanted to share some of your story. Whenever you reached out to me, I'm like, yes, this sounds pretty awesome. So, hey, look, all I want to say right now is thank you for coming up.
Well, no, it was an easy choice.
Yeah.
You know, we looked into, I looked into what you're doing out here, and I'm like, I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
you think I'm happy to be here with you more than anything, because I was like, wow, I get to be around these kind of people. So,
yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you coming up, and I've got news for you. Whenever I was reading over your bio, I was like, you and I are kind of cut from the same cloth. A little bit. We've got some of the same perspectives, ideas, motivation, and one of the things I like is your energy.
Yeah.
Energy. It's like a polarizing. It's good. It's like the synergy is just powering up. So you came on up here, and I want to share part of your story. Okay. So I don't want to just jump into Congress. I don't want to just talk about politics.
There's more to
I want to know who Mike is that's coming up here from down on the coast. So tell me a little bit about where you grew up, where you were born, stuff like that.
So I'm from Long Beach, Mississippi, which is right there next to Gulfport. I was born in 1980. We lived there on the coast. My family, we grew up poor. We lived off the Gulf. We caught our own. We ate off the ocean every day. Like that's just without what my dad called, if you didn't catch mullet or shrimp or something like that, we didn't eat. So we grew up like that in a mentality where we were very happy to have when we could get, and my family their skill set is water well drilling, and so as we got, it really is like you wouldn't think.
I've never heard of that.
Nobody wants to drill water wells.
Yeah.
I don't either, but on paper it's really cool.
Yeah,
the geology of it and seeing what it's weird to drill a water well and hit a log at 400 feet.
Yeah,
so how did it get there? So my family did that. We did water well drilling, and my family took over the family bought the company from my Uncle Carl, and then we just continued drilling water well. That became our
down on the coast, is that kind of tough to do?
No, it's easy. It's easy to deal. Like
salt water and stuff's not a
well,
problem?
no, because
probably just my ignorance speaking on that.
It's about Mississippi's really good for underground water stratas.
Okay.
So to drill water wells. Now up here you got we're at 16 feet below sea level in certain areas. My front yard is 6 foot above sea level. So you hit water pretty fast.
Yeah.
But now the quality water is what matters. But no, Mississippi's got a really good water strata underneath it and aquifers and things like that. So you could drill between 30 and 500 foot and hit wonderful water supply. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's really neat.
When you were growing up, were you thinking that was what you were going to be doing?
No. I never
wanted, not that.
I never wanted. It was terrible work. It's very hard. You get wet a lot, and it's long time. It's just very strenuous work, and I learned really quick that that's not for me.
It's something about when you are exposed to certain things, it is a motivator in itself, especially if you realize something that it's not what you want to do.
Correct.
Yeah. I know many times in my life I've been across that. I'd be like, oh, you know what? I was in construction for a hot minute, wiring houses. This is like a lot of hard work right here. It's not my thing. Yeah. It's not my thing.
And that's it. It's like, now I enjoy like the geology of well drilling, and I enjoyed the science of it. And I was like, I could do this for a living, find out where to put water wells. But the actual manual labor, a water well driller is one of the toughest jobs. I mean, oil drilling and stuff like that. So my family did that, and then finally, we got better off at it. Played sports as a kid.
What was your main sport?
Football.
Okay.
Football. I played a lot of football as a kid, and I played on the more the impoverished teams, the poor teams. So as my family got it more into money, we recognized how valuable money is to everyone. And so, we understood the struggles that people have. And so it was nothing for my mother to buy the entire football team, go down to Goodwill and just wipe out all the cleats.
Wow.
And that's the way it had to be. We were able to do that. And
do you have brothers, sisters?
I have a younger sister. Yeah.
Okay. She's sports and stuff as well?
No, she did some cheerleading in the beginning, but really, no, she really wasn't into that. She's right now she works in the medical field in the Texas-Louisiana line, Vidor, Texas.
Okay. What kind of stuff she do?
I don't know.
Oh, fair enough.
Just doctor stuff. Like,
Well, yeah.
but she's like EMT level stuff, things like that. So
I'm a retired paramedic. I teach paramedic school, so it was like another connection.
So yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Another connection.
I know she works with the hospitals, EMT and stuff like that. You know, so she does that kind of stuff. That you know, that first line, first responders kind of stuff. So like she does that.
I was asking because I was curious knowing what you did next. So at some point, you're getting through high school.
Yep.
When do you start thinking about becoming a police officer? Because I know that was your first thing you did.
I don't know. I was born. I don't know. It's genetic.
Really?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I just
You liked it growing up? Chips Patrol?
Yeah. Did the Explorer Academies, did the Explorers with the Sheriff's Department, stuff like that, and grew up around law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
My mentors till I was, well, even today, there still are a lot of the officers are still my mentors. Like I grew up around police officers. I grew up around military, the CBs that right there at the CB base.
Yeah.
So these guys were drivers and from my progress throughout my life, and I was kind of like, I want to emulate that when I grow up. And I, being around a lot of law enforcement, there was all kinds of people to learn to emulate and be part of. And so I was very lucky to have, tons and tons of people that I'm like, I like that guy's style. I like this guy's style.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to build my own way through it. And then when I turned 21, I was able to join the police department. And I did that for about 2 years. And then I finally got an opportunity to join the military because I was finally qualified.
How long was that after you?
I did 2 years in the military.
So like 23?
Yeah, so 23. I joined it. I joined at 23 years old, and then because I wanted to get in my whole life, but I have a leg issue. I was born with a clubfoot deformity, so it would limit my. They said it would limit my abilities to function. But after we finally got into a position, Operation Iraqi Freedoms are starting, so they're lowering
It was like
the
what,
standards.
2003,
2001, something like that.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, so we get there and get started. And finally I found a recruiter, that was, would consider me, okay, I'm gonna put you on the back burner. I'll do it as I get time because you're just so messed up. You're gonna need so many waivers that it's just a pet project. And finally,
was it like surgeries and stuff you had to get through?
I was born with a clubfoot disability, so the foot was turned around. I basically was Forrest Gump till I was probably 7 or 8 years old. So I wore casts from the day I was born till 7, 8 years old.
Oh, okay, that
braces.
paints the picture a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Forrest Gump scenario, but it's not the fast speeds though. I don't know where he got his.
All of a sudden he broke loose. Well,
Jesus.
He was getting chased by guys in the car.
I wish
you just didn't have that happen.
If
that would have come along,
I needed more chasing, I guess. That's what I needed in my life. But, I was ROTC in high school, JROTC, and, I excelled at it in mentor and leadership and stuff like that. So that was easy for me to recognize that I had the ability to motivate, mentor, lead, develop, peers and subordinates. So, and then going in the military, it was just the right thing to do. And, I've always had the calling to serve. It was just in my bones genetically. And it just kind of the way.
Did you have other family members that had been in the military?
No. I had one uncle that was in the military, but I didn't know he was in the military till way after I was
Interesting.
in. So, no, it just my duty to serve, I guess, is really.
I think it is genetic. I mean, as far as whenever you have this inner calling.
Yep.
All right. And I like to think of myself as having a certain type of mindset, and it was started whenever I was a kid. And it sounds a lot like the same thing for you. And you had some exposures there, but early on, you knew you wanted to do something that served bigger than you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I always knew. I was like, as a kid, I was like, I'm supposed to do something really important. I was like, I could tell that I was meant to help others, and by doing that, and then having people. Like law enforcement friends and the families that would be like, yeah, I know what that is. That's called the flame. Once the flame is lit inside your soul, I don't care.
It's true.
I haven't done law enforcement in, 30 years, let's say. And every day I think about it. I still use the techniques and tactics and procedures that law enforcement, it's part of my
Once
DNA.
It's there,
part of my structure.
It's like riding a bike almost. Yeah, it is a part of your structure. Yeah. Whenever I graduated high school, just another thing, you didn't know this about me probably, unless you read my bio.
I did not.
It's in there.
I did not.
Okay. I went to school to be a cop. So I have an associate's degree in criminal justice. That was my mindset. Then I ended up feeling that same thing, and I'm like, I need to serve my country. Yes. Went into the Air Force for 4 years.
I'm sorry.
I know. Well,
okay.
I scored high on my ASVAB.
Good for you.
Turns out, I don't know. I don't know if that's real or not.
It's real.
Okay. And so I didn't do a lot in the Air Force. Nothing that was definitely dangerous. I sat behind a computer. My eyes strained at times.
Hey, everybody's job is...
I got thirsty once.
Oh, my. Were you okay?
Yeah, well, I had to call somebody, and they brought me a water, and they saved my life.
That's good.
Yeah. So I was... Yeah.
Heroism comes in different,
I didn't judge. I was like, thank you. You've done your part. Yeah. So ultimately the Air Force did, it was like, it was kind of showing me that, yeah, this is a path of servant leadership. Something I want to ask you about. So whenever you make the decision, this is definitely something you have to be a part of, whatever that is. And it's going to be, you're doing something that plays bigger than you.
Yep.
You're going to give a lot more to the process, but in the end, what comes back to you is not something that you're looking for, but it is there. And that's knowing that you're helping other people.
Yeah.
You're serving other people. And that's the important part. So this is part of the foundation that I'm laying. It sounds to me like, though, that those roots were put there with the water well.
Correct.
You're seeing your parents work super hard.
Oh yeah. I mean, everybody's parents work hard, but
Sure.
to see them struggle, and like I was, conscious enough to be like, man, they're really struggling. You don't know you're poor at the time. We just enjoyed fishing. We didn't know. It was like, hey, we're going fishing every day. I'm like, this is the greatest life ever.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Like we're taking the cast net out and catching mullet. When we're eating, this is the greatest day ever. We're eating shrimp 3 or 4 times a week. And
that ain't bad.
No, you're living your best life.
Sure. Yeah.
And then later on, you find out after you go to school and you like see like, wait a minute, I don't have the things that others do.
Yeah, but they were putting a good example in front of you.
They did fantastic.
And that's important. And so then whenever you go get a little older, get out of high school and stuff, and then you become an officer, and that shows you that you have the capacity, and you go into the military. When you were going in, did you have an idea of what you wanted to do in the Army?
No, I didn't care what it was.
Okay. So
I just wanted to serve my country. And so I just wanted to serve my country, whatever. I would have done anything to be part of our country. And luckily for myself that I scored high in the field artillery. So I was like military police or the field artillery. And the cop thing I was okay. I was like, let's do something cooler.
Yeah.
Military police is not fun as people think it would be.
And you stand at a gate.
Yes, correct. So I get to shoot, move, and communicate with artillery pieces now. So this is So that's what I did, and I was able to do that. And
yeah. And is that what you did the whole time?
the whole time.
Wow. And how many years did you serve?
I did 20 years.
20 years. So you said you went over to Iraq. Was there other deployments?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I would imagine you've been all over the place.
I've lived on 11% of the earth. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's. That's bigger than my percent. I've lived on like 1.
That's cool.
I think. Well, it was Hernando.
Oh, so nice.
I was in the Air Force, but I don't know. I guess I did travel a little bit, but not a ton.
I got the opportunity to travel a lot. After I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where the home of the field artillery, and then I ultimately deployed to Iraq. And we did there, so went there, got blown up 3 times,
Wow, you did?
Yeah, I got blown up.
You're looking good.
Thank you.
I did. Wow, I wouldn't know. You only look like you've been blown up once.
I know. I lost portion of my thumb in Korea.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow,
My hand
it?
got crushed between a trailer load of rockets and missiles. So we were trying to put it underneath.
Fun at all.
It was terrible, but I'm scarred up all over the place. I wear hearing aids. From my time in Iraq, messed up my hearing real bad. So I wear that. So, but they're just things to make it have other people have a better opportunity to keep up with me.
Sure,
so,
that's what it is. You're dialing
giving
back
them a chance,
so other people can catch
Correct.
up.
That's
that's what people need to do sometimes. You think about that.
Yeah, he's like, once you're so high speed, you're like, this is not fair. Save some for the rest of us.
So you stayed in the combat vet for 20 years.
So
did you ever think about switching up?
No.
Okay.
I really enjoyed. So what I found my skill set was like, sure, I'm really good at the field artillery, but what I was really good, my real skill set in the Army is mentor, leadership, is providing purpose, motivation, and direction for soldiers. That's where I found my passion. I would have been a janitor as long as I could mentor and train soldiers into whatever I was doing. But in combat, that's where I excelled at. It was in that kind of thing, and specifically the field artillery. Like for example, you see the HIMARS, which is the multiple launch rocket systems in Ukraine that are shooting, they're doing all that. That's my people. So the Ukrainians are doing it. But the soldiers that I trained are the ones that trained them to shoot that. So
I did make a note here. So you're recently retired.
Yeah, 8 months ago.
Okay, I couldn't remember the exact time, but 8 months ago. Wow.
I retired 8 months ago.
Wow. And you're about to get out of the military.
I'm done. I got out 8 months ago.
No, what I'm saying is you're about to get out of the military.
Yeah.
So this is one of those flash backwards.
Yes.
If there was a movie, there would have been a transition scene, and it would have done like
we
this.
did the wiggly thing.
There would have been something like that. You just didn't see it happening. So when you're about to get out, and you've been doing this now for 20 years.
Yep, 20 years.
20 years.
Yep.
What is going through your mind in that moment? Because it's like for me, I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do now?
I couldn't wait.
You couldn't wait.
Could not wait.
Ready to get up.
I was at the 17 in the military, about the 17-year mark. You start looking beyond that line, and it was exciting to me. I maxed out my military potential.
Okay.
Like I was ready. Okay, I've done this best. They're like,
You got it out of your system.
I got it out of my system. Well,
Sure.
I knew I was I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the next harder step, because I just don't believe that if there's not enough friction in your life, then you need to apply more because you've plateaued.
Sure.
And I knew that the military gave me 20 years of experience, that I needed to apply that to my civilian life and make, now that I serve my country, let me serve my community. And so there was trying to find the right place for that and getting involved and seeing what else I could do that, that would challenge me, but also make the world a better place.
Yeah. So I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, besides being blown up several times, you look relatively young.
I got 2 bullets in this left leg here.
Still?
Yep. Still there.
Wow. It's like a souvenir that.
Yeah. I don't want them. I like them. They're staying.
Don't get rid of them.
No,
then.
they're
Shoot.
there. Nope.
So you look young.
Yep.
How old are you? Can I ask that? Is that something? You're not a woman.
No, I'm not a woman. I'm 43 years old.
See, you are young.
I'm moderately young. Yeah.
1980. You said that. I just didn't do the math.
I wouldn't either. It's a lot of numbers. And that, yeah. So so when we talk about deployments, some of the, so I went to Iraq and did that. Was able to be part of that. Fallujah, Baghdad, all that good stuff. And then later on, I was lucky enough to go, come back to America and then redeploy again to Africa. And I spent almost 2 years in Africa.
Oh, cool. Which country?
So all of them. So I was my home, we'll call it, was Djibouti, but I did combat search and rescue with special operations. So
wow.
I got to do cool guy stuff.
Yeah.
So I got to be in infantry for almost 2 years, and then jumping out of helicopters on fast ropes and helping special operate with JSOC, which is Joint Special Operations, to do their thing. So every rotation I got to hang out with.
So you're hanging out with the special forces guys.
Yeah, hanging out with the community and stuff like that. So it would be like, pararescue one quarter, and the next quarter would be Rangers, next quarter would be special operations. So it's always somebody
that's
new.
Cool. Yeah,
it was really cool. But I think I was hanging out with those guys, and all we do is train, and and that's fun. You're just like hanging out doing.
That's
cool
what you like to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're honored to be with men of this caliber.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they'll be like, they were like, hey, we're gonna go out into the desert and shoot sniper rifles at moving targets. You want to come? Yes.
Okay.
Let's go.
Sign me up.
And they're like, well, have you ever done it from a helicopter? Like, no, I have not. So, I mean, we're like literally in CH-53 big helicopters, the Marine Corps helicopters, shooting moving targets and stuff like that. So
some high action stuff.
Yeah, and like as an artilleryman, this is not normal lifestyle. This is so like I recognized really quickly because my platoon was hand selected to take on this mission. And I knew right away, I was like, I'm so lucky to be here. And this is not normal, to be able to do these things. And so it let me go to combat. I went to desert survival school in Africa. I was able to go to different commando schools and work with many, many branches of different military. So it was nothing to hang out with, for me to spend the weekend with the French Foreign Legion and the next weekend with the French Navy, we'll call them the German Navy SEALs, just to help understand these boat teams, and I was able to do diplomatic work with dozens and dozens of militaries on different continents, being involved in certain things. So being able to be involved in diplomacy.
That is, you definitely had some strong international influence, it seems like.
Yeah. Well, and that was the kind of cool part. Let's say the Germans were coming in town, or the French, or whoever's coming, and they're like, hey, we're going to be in town in 3 days. Can we set up some training? Can we use the shoot house? And it allowed us to work together and build a stronger relationship between our countries. So the Germans are hanging out with this, the English are here now. The Germans are like, let's have a 3-team competition. Now you got the Germans are pistol shooting against the Americans and the British. And it's just very cool to be able to do that.
I'm glad you're sharing this with me, because the truth is the lay person out there that's never been in the military, I would say for the most part, they're not going to have any clue that all that goes on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to say from somebody that was actually in the military, but, I was in the Air Force.
Yeah.
So, I didn't do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I went in thinking that this job was going to be cool. I went in as a satellite operator. And my whole thought was it's going to be kind of like Star Trek or something.
Geospatial, something like that.
So boring.
God, it sounds cool on paper, though.
It did sound cool on paper. I had this vision of being able to wear a cool futuristic
I picture you
outfit.
moving satielites around to check out stuff.
That literally is what we did.
Yeah,
but it was from a DOS computer. And it was just some little blinking things.
Commodore 64.
Azimuth. And I'm like, oh, this is not what I thought.
Not
so anyways, there wasn't that international connection that you had, obviously. And I didn't realize that we did those kind of much training with other.
Absolutely.
I mean, you would expect some with different branches in certain areas, but that is very interesting.
I was able to provide close air support, field artillery support to the to one of the other military branches, Singaporean military. They would come in with they'd come to Fort Sill with their Black Hawks, or not Black Hawk, but their Apaches and stuff like that. And we would do what we call a SEED mission, which is suppression of enemy air defense. And we would just suppress those targets, and working with those guys, the Singaporeans coming in and out and stuff like that. I mean, we worked with Japanese, South Koreans, I was able to build up, I would like to say diplomatic relations with them. I mean, we could call upon each other. It was like, hey, we need something something simple that we don't need to go through the embassy when we're about to work together. It's like, so it was kind of,
I think that does give you some really good behind the scenes idea about how things are supposed to work. So
there's so many relationships, like the Germans are different than the French, the Ethiopians are different than the British, and so you got to learn those roles and what are fun words to use and how relationship bonding and building off that. So
absolutely. What we're talking about here, and I'm building some fabric to the behind the who Mike is, who Mike McGill is really the person and made you into the 43-year-old individual before me today. Another thing that I don't want to step past is you mentioned to me in our pre-conversation about your family running a nonprofit.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so I guess, ultimately this will lead into how, because I know you're going to probably ask, how did you decide to run for Congress?
How did you know that?
Because
weird.
Because I know.
Weird.
It's crazy. So luckily for myself, and I'll build on that story.
Yeah.
When I was in Africa, I was able to do a lot of humanitarian work with, the locals, like children and stuff, like infants and refugee camps or something like that, or orphanages. And we were able to, I was like, me and my guys, like, hey guys, we're off today. Y'all want to go do some humanitarian work? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. So
I didn't even realize they let you do it like that. Yeah, that's cool.
They want you to. It's part, that's how you create
connections
a really
with
good
the people.
community.
Yeah.
It's like, when you win hearts and minds of the community, this is literally how you do it, and then we're winning our own hearts and minds at the same time because we appreciate doing it. But, we were able to work with animals, like go to a hyena rescue and help.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like hanging out with hyenas, feeding them raw meat, and helping them get back, and they'll release them. So we would work with these orphanages and do that kind of thing. So my guys like, this was really fun. So we go back to America, and we're like, let's keep that energy up. Why don't we start a nonprofit? Like just a couple soldiers, and we just continue that same energy here in the United States. And we're like, okay, let's do it. And we started taking on small projects around, around Oklahoma and Mississippi, like that, what little project we find. For example, we had a family contact us, their 14-year-old daughter died, and they couldn't afford a tombstone or the funeral. So we carried I got a couple soldiers that we carried the coffin. We paid for the tombstone.
Oh, wow.
We worked with other organizations to provide the food at the wake and stuff like that. So taking on problems that were important to, Americans right there like that. We provided, hundreds of pairs of school uniforms for kids that in these very impoverished communities that did not have shoes. Like they were literally going to school without shoes and underwear and thing. And the teachers were like, hey, McGill, I got 3 kids that we vetted and we know this, we would do that. And we would provide food. For example, 2 years ago, me and my son, we raised enough money to pay off 19 elementary school lunch debts. Thousands of children got to eat again because him and I had skill sets for, doing that. And so, and like I said, we're not a nonprofit like this wonderful chair. We're just a bunch of soldiers just using our military skills and our ability to do logistics and operations to get something done. I mean, for example,
but how many people are involved?
Just 5.
Oh wow,
5 of us. That's including him.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we're small, and all of a sudden we get a call from someone say, "Hey, we got 5,000 pounds of potatoes. Do y'all want them?" Yes. I don't know what we're going to do with these potatoes. So we get there and they dump them in the parking lot, and how can we force multiply potatoes? Because they're giving them out to the community in 50-pound bags. I'm like, well, there's 9 food kitchens in this town, and there's a couple senior centers that feed. So we're like, how can we force multiply? Let's divide them up and bring them to the, so we were bringing them to these food kitchens that could use them to cook whatever they want. And now we're able to force multiply and feed hundreds of seniors or homeless people or stuff like that. So we were just like, how can we take a little bit of what we got and make it work? And that's what we did. So during COVID, we were able to provide nurses with some PPE, some personal protection equipment for that. We wiped out school lunch debts. We did everything, and we continue to do that today.
So you guys started just seeing a need, decided to take action on it.
Yep.
But This is the part that I really think I like the most, is the fact that it's almost like a unicorn in the sense it wasn't just single guided. It wasn't like, look, we're going to just people that need shoes. Yeah. We're going to do shoes. You were just meeting needs that came your way.
Our mission,
that's unique.
Yeah. Our mission statement, because like in the nonprofit sector, it's very easy to go down a rabbit hole because I want to help everybody, but we can't. Money's not real to us like that. We have whatever money we scrounge up.
Right.
So we like our mission for our nonprofit is to provide underprivileged children and veterans with an equal opportunity at life. That may be a pair of shoes, that might be lunch debt, that might be whatever it is, but that's all we want to do is just give the kid a chance to fight on his own. Like, just get it back. And it might be, we stock like food pantries boxes. Me and him restocked a couple of the city, like we did Long Beach, we redid that. We did some Gulfport, we did multiple food pantries, like restock them all, So
you have 5 members. Is this something that you're looking to grow?
Yeah, I mean,
volunteers are always welcome. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. Sure. It was like we're only as big as our hearts or our capabilities.
Do you have a name for it?
The School of Athens. So,
I'm going to make sure that we put that. If I don't look, I've got the ADDs.
Yep.
If I don't write something down when I'm thinking about it, man, look, let me tell you something. My regular listeners, they'll be always like, you know what, Coach Camp, I don't know what. Oh, there he's back. He's back. He went a full circle. Yeah. Now he's back.
I'm the same way. I have to do the same thing. But so like, you can awesome. Find us on, and like I said, like. If I was to, in this magic world, go to Congress and spend 50 years there and be like, here lies a Congress. I don't want that. I want here lies a philanthropist. That's what I want to be known for.
Sure. Yeah.
And I take those skill sets and I pass them on to my son and make him a better American.
You just have one kid?
I have 2 sons.
2 sons.
Yeah, one lives with his mother in Shreveport, and then Michael lives with me.
Okay.
So, and then we're able to do that. And we do a lot of feedings and stuff like that. When he comes into town, we're like, all right, boys, what do you want to do? Like, let's go feed the homeless.
That's awesome.
I mean, this is when the tornadoes happened in Moss Point, we provided all the firefighters, all first responders with barbecue. We paid for all the barbecue, passed out hundreds of plates.
Wow.
Because nobody thinks of those guys.
No, that's true.
They're so quick to feed the community, but they also forget we don't oil the machine. It's
firemen get hungry. That is a fact. I've seen them.
And, and it's wonderful. Like, it's just good. And it's just fun to be a good American.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it is. And if I can train my sons and other people and like invite them to come along, hey, let's go do something great for an hour. And I've learned in the nonprofit sector, everybody wants to help. They just don't know how to get started.
Man, you just said a lot. Actually, I was probably going to lead that way in just a second, but you're 100% right. That's one of the things that this show has actually brought about is the fact that I have had so many different people that have represented a number of nonprofits in all directions, and folks will contact me all the time and they'll be like, that's a great idea. I had thought about doing something like that before, but I just didn't know how to get it started. And so just speaking to that moment, because I got to touch on this. Sometimes whenever a dot's connected, I didn't know it was going to happen. I didn't know this dot was about to happen. But I'm a part of a mentorship program here, and it's called the Hope Center, and we work with students that are from like 4th grade up through 12th grade, and a lot of them do come from troubled backgrounds, but that's not a prerequisite. I mean, it just happens how it is. But statistics, right? And so what we work with them, though, is not just giving them a safe place to be themselves or to learn a new skill set, but like one of the things that Stacy Dodd, which runs the thing, is working on is doing 501Cs, teaching them how to run their own one day. And I'm like, when he said that to me, I'm like, that is brilliant.
So I have set up in the last 365 days, I've probably set up 4 nonprofits for people.
Wow.
I'm the guy you call. Like,
see, that's what people need.
Idea. Like, I'm working on one right now for a lady. I'm trying to run for Congress, save the world, but I'll help you with your nonprofit.
Yeah.
And I'm the guy you call that you want to help. You want a nonprofit built, like you don't know where to get started. I do it all.
When you mentioned that, I'm sorry. I had to go down that path for just a minute because it's so relevant.
I never think about, like, I'm proud of that. I'm like, because like,
should be, yeah.
I'm force multiplying once again. Like, and it doesn't cost me a thing. They're like, how much is it going to cost me? I'm going to do it for free because I like your passion, your energy, and it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. I mean, you've proven that you are willing to go the extra mile. You drove up here just today. So look, here's where we are. We're at the break moment. So we are actually going to step away for just a second, and we're going to come back, and I am going to lead down that path because I'd like to know a lot about Mike, what caused you to go down this path of politics, and where we're going to go from there. So, hey, stick around. We'll be right back.
A great opportunity awaits. The Motivate with Coach Camp podcast is now in its 2nd season, and we are excited to say that we have listeners all over the United States and in 19 countries. If you have a company and you're interested in some very affordable advertising, while at the same time supporting a great cause, please go to motivatewithcoachcamp.com and fill out that sponsorship page, and we'll get right back to you. You can support the podcast through donations on Venmo at Motivate with Coach Camp. Thank you to all the listeners and guests who have blessed this podcast with their engagement and involvement.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So right before we went off to the break, we had built a pretty good plateau. We had this nice foundation of who Mike McGill is, where he came from, some of his background. And, you know, before the show started today, you and I actually discussed a little bit about once you've worked hard and you've kind of put yourself in positions to be uncomfortable and you continue to push past that, that's how you grow. Yeah. And if you ever get to a point in life, you're just comfortable and you're going through the motions, you're just existing, that's not living. So you should create challenges. Correct. Not to say anybody wants to wake up and lose everything and have to start over, not saying that. But what we are saying is that once you've achieved a certain amount of things, you should set your goals a little higher, push a little further. And there are multiple reasons why we should do that. So here's what I want to share with my listeners. I don't think we should do that. That's self-serving. That's my opinion. I don't think we should try to build ourselves up so we could try to look down on others. What we should do is push ourselves each and every day to be the best version of us. Correct. So that the people next to us want to do the same. You influence people to do the same. They want to be the best version of themselves. And how you do that is you've got to create challenges sometimes. And you've got to push yourself further to let other people know what is possible. Now, before we started, Mike, you shared a very good story with me, and I hate that we didn't catch it, but we're going to try to recap it. And that is, you were born with the club foot.
Yep.
And you had a lot of surgeries, and you wanted to go in the Army, and we've established that, and then you were able to work through that. You had to work 10 times harder than the average person to make sure that happened. But you were brought, this individual was brought to you, I should say, the attention of this individual, that they were like a 7 or 8 year old kid that had the same thing.
Yep.
And wanted to do things, but didn't see a future for themselves and felt depressed. And you used that moment. So talk a little bit about that real fast.
One of the other things I did, I was a recruiter in the Army, and I was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I recruited in New Jersey, Philadelphia, all that area. And I've always, since I'm a Shriners kid, and I've been in the Ronald McDonald houses all my life, I'm naturally attached to them. So as soon as I get to a place and I find one, I'm like, my name's McGill. You tell me what you want from me. I don't care what it is, if it's to color with kids. And one day I got a phone, I told him, I was a Shriners kid and my backstory. And then, I get a phone call from the director one day. She's like, hey, can you come to the hospital? Can you come to Ronald McDonald House as fast as possible? I'm like, okay. I don't know what she needs with a recruiter, but when the Ronald McDonald House calls, you go.
Sure.
And so I showed up. She's like, this kid's name's McGill. I remember his name now that we're talking about it. So this is McGill. He's in a wheelchair. He has the same deformity, clubfoot deformity you have, and he's struggling right now. He's just depressed because he's like, I can't do anything. I can't be in the military. I can't be an astronaut. I can't do none of the things I ever want to do because I'm like this. And he got down in his feelings, and I was able to go hang out with him for an hour. And, I'm in dress uniform. I was like, look, I have the same thing. We're comparing feet sizes. And we were able to, and I was able to show him, like, look, man, you control your own fate. You decide what you want to be. If you want to stay right here and you quit, then that's where you're going to be the rest of your life. But, nobody can tell you what you can and cannot do but yourself. That's self-infliction. So if you want to be an astronaut, then go find out what it takes to be an astronaut and achieve that. And, after we got done talking with him, he was back, his family was crying, that he was happy again. And it's just like, sometimes we just need to talk to a motivator, someone that understands your struggle and it says, hey, push a little harder, just go a little bit more. There is a chance. And, just being around people like that, just kind of, that's the meaning of life right there.
You infused hope in that individual where he didn't see there was any possibility of it, right?
This kid's 7 years old. He's done.
There's exactly. So, at 7, obviously the perspective is going to be pretty shallow. They haven't lived any life.
His world is very small.
That's why, though. But I think that's why it's so important that people understand that their role in life, when you're going through some tough times, there is a purpose. Yep. There is a purpose, and down that road, you're going to end up finding that moment where you need to share that, and that could actually change the entire outcome of an individual. I would love to get an update one day of that kid and just see, how many years ago was that?
That was probably 6 years ago. 7 years ago.
So I would love to know the path. That's always the thing.
Maybe I've called him.
You should do that.
You should do that.
Yeah.
I got a photo somewhere. I'll get it to you so you can see him.
Yeah.
And if people understood that everything they do, no matter who they are, they don't think that nobody's watching them. They're mentoring somebody,
I promise
good
you.
or bad.
I promise
they're
you
mentoring somebody. So, you walk, in the military, I walk down the hall, people are literally watching. I was like, I want to walk like that. And that's when you have achieved something, and if you're a father, you're good at father or a bad father, or your uncle or not. You know, are you talking to your child or your nephew or niece and saying, hey, you know, achieve? They're watching you.
Yeah.
They're watching. You might not know it, and most people don't know they're being mentored. If you know, some people that you know, like Matt Haley, the sheriff of Harrison County. I've known him all my life, and he's someone I admire and I look up to. And you know, one day I can be like him.
Yeah.
You know, and he, you know, he'll be like, I can't believe he thinks like, you know,
Sure.
because to him, we're friends. We don't see much of it, but you know, I'm watching everything he does. And how
There
he
is a
does it.
quote that says, everybody's watching someone and you never know who's watching you.
That's perfect.
And so that's why you do need to live your life in a way that is going to be inspirational to others and realize that there's a
have to
purpose.
keep
There is a
achieving.
purpose behind it. So here's what's funny. So here's what I want to share with my listeners. One of the things that whenever I got into Motivate with Coach Camp and I got into this role of being able to be a podcaster, I had an idea and a vision and a thought process, and that was I was going to tackle tough subjects. I didn't care, like if you had been down a lot of hard roads, and we've done with everything from PTSD to addiction, you name it. I was gonna be willing to approach it. But the one thing about it was I didn't want it to ever be polarized. I didn't want it to be divisional. I wanted this podcast and my voice to be one that brought about unity. Because as we're talking about today, I think and this is why I'm talking directly to the camera now that we're video audio, which is kind of cool. But this is one of the things that I really felt personally responsible for, and that was being a positive voice in today's world, just like Mike and I are talking about. And the best way to do that, of course, is to bring on people that want to have that same type of vision. And so, full disclosure, you reached out to me. You come across my podcast down on the coast, which, by the way, I'm proud to say, with a lot of hard work and Derek Michaud behind, Derek Michaud is actually how you say his name. I found that out. Behind the push, we have grown all over the nation, which is amazing. You reached out to me and you mentioned to me that you were going to run for Congress, and I didn't want to just be a political stance. I want to know who's the person, why they want to do something that they're doing, and anything that they're wanting to accomplish is important if it's for the right reason.
Correct.
We talked on the phone.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I watched your videos and like I just saw like the motivation, like you know, motivation. I'm like, man, this is great. That's my kind of people, because like, you know, running for Congress for me, it's not about a political ideology. It's about being a leader and a mentor and you know, and doing these things. And I'm like, you're like targeting the markets that like it's in the Army. My favorite job is mentor, leadership, and development. That's all I want to do all day long. I don't care what it is. And you're doing that on your own show and with, you know, different routes. And I was like, that's where I want to be. Yeah. I would come on the show and not talk about politics or, you know, I just like the direction that you're going in.
So the full disclosure part of this is I didn't know Mike, and we talk on the phone, and immediately I can tell just by your enthusiasm, but then some of your background and then some other things. Obviously, I did a little bit of research on it, and I'm like, wow, okay, this guy's legit. I want to talk to him. So he agreed to drive up, which he did today. And now here's the thing. Here is the thing. Well, I'll say today, but of course, this is going to be taped. It's going to be played later. But what I'm most impressed with is that it's not a political banter for you. It is a passion to help others. And how do you do that? And that's what we talked about off the air was, how do you do that? You put yourself in a position to be that leader.
Yeah.
And so why, how does the moment come to you? I'm going to run for Congress. How?
Well, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I guess you know, I'll have to go back.
I mean, you could have been mayor, right?
Yeah, I could have been, but I couldn't have done enough work.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that, like, I mean, I think mayor's an amazing position.
Sure.
I feel that I need to do something a little bit bigger right now. In my nonprofit work, me and my son are in these impoverished communities, and we're passing out food, and we're passing out eggs and milk or whatever things that are being dropped off, and we're hundreds of homes, and then I'm frustrated because I'm recognizing the problem. I'm like, here's the problem in the United States right here. I'm involved in the trenches with these poor, impoverished families. I'm like, here's the problem. And I'm like, well, how can I fix it? No matter how much food I bring, it's never going to be enough. The only thing I can change is the law. I was like, well, I guess I need to run for Congress. Okay. And that's literally how it came, is like, you know, I reverse things. I want to feed the homeless. Well, how do we feed them? With food. Well, how do we get food? We do this, you know, and I do the same thing. Well, how do we change the law? We become a congressman, because we can't rely on the congressman currently and our elected officials to take on the burden of these people.
It hadn't been done yet, right?
No, they don't vote. These are children. They don't vote. You know what I mean? So, and that's the issue. And like, who's going to speak for these kids? Who's going to speak for these single mothers? These families out here that are that are impoverished and that need a little help and a little assistance, because unfortunately the system that we live in today is so polarized, left or right. That the people in the middle suffer the most.
Absolutely.
And so that's how I got involved in Congress, because I got tired and frustrated of seeing people suffering and people not getting what they, as an American, you should have certain inalienable
opportunities.
Rights. Yeah,
opportunities.
And like, we should be helping them better than we are. We send $190 billion to Ukraine, but 1 in 5 children in Mississippi go to bed hungry every night.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. Like, I just can't imagine. You're like, hey, help me feed these kids. Well, we don't have money for that. Hold on, the Ukraine's calling. Let me, they need a thing. And then we don't even blink at doing that. We got children, elderly that doesn't have health care or anything like that, children that are, and it just, nobody wants to help these people. And I was like, you know what? I'll do it. I have nothing to lose. I'm retired from the Army. I got a paycheck. I got a retirement check. I don't have nothing to lose, but so much to gain from it. And I was like, I'll put my head out there.
I just recently did an episode about seasons of life, and we all go through different seasons, and those can be big seasons and small seasons, and it's always going to be a turnover. And I think that to a point, I think with what we've done with your story is we built how this is the right season. This is your harvest season in the big scope of life. You've put all these things in place, all of these characteristics, all these experiences, just talking about your time overseas, being able to communicate with all different types of folks from all over the world. All of these things gave you tools in the toolbox. And the one thing that had to be there that nobody could give you, and I think this is what's really important to point out, you cannot be taught love. You got to know how to love. That's got to come natural from you right here. That has to be a passion that drives you every day you wake up. It's not something that somebody can get into a classroom and teach you how to do. You got to have that already. You had that. And then not only did you have that, but you had this, and I like to call it the right kind of insanity. To be an entrepreneur, you got to be the right kind of insanity. And that is that you think you can make the difference. You're not looking around saying, look at all these problems.
Correct.
Now somebody needs to do something about it. It's like, look at all these problems. Let me see how I can make a difference. And you're stepping up to that. So you decide to make a run for Congress. I got to ask this question because I have a family too. What was their response when you go and you're like, hey guys, guess what? Retired 7 months ago.
Got an idea.
This idea came to me. I'm going to maybe go back to work.
Yeah. And then, like that is, and like, my family would expect nothing less. My son's like,
okay. They're conditioned well.
Yeah, they're not. Like I'm the kind of guy who's like, all right, guys, pack your bags. Where are we going? Nebraska.
Okay.
Why? I saw something on the internet. I want to see.
I love it.
And like I'm as spontaneous as you've ever seen a human be.
I believe that.
We lived in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I was like, all right, everybody, I just got off work. I'm ready to go do something. Let's go to Boston.
I love it.
Like what? Why?
Yeah,
I want to see where Paul Revere ran down the road.
Sure.
So I have that, and what I mean by that, and what it is like I have the drive that most people would ever think about. If people hung out, I had a buddy that came down from vacation from Kentucky. He's like, hey, I'm going to take a week off from work. I'm just come out to the house, sit on your porch and relax. I'm like, hey, buddy, I'm in campaign season, so you're going to come with me everywhere I go. By day 2, he was like, I want to go home. He's like, this is not fun.
Yeah.
And he's like, how do you continue to do this every single day? I was like, because I need to. I have to. There's people counting on me in this community that doesn't get the right representation. And if I take a nap or I don't go to work and get a sign in the ground, there's a child that's not going to get fed. There's somebody that needs to be represented that's not going to get that.
You're making it small. You're making it to the point of it's not like this broad scope. It's every individual. No. Every individual is going to matter.
Correct.
And your boots on the ground with that.
There's in Congressional District 4, there's 777,000 people. I want to meet them all. You know what I mean? Like I want to know what do you need from me? And then I really want to focus on getting it done. This is not, for me to go into Congress is not like, this is a dream come true. This is a burden that I feel that I need to take on, that I'm willing to sacrifice myself, because the Congress people that we put in, or elected officials we put in, they're not representing the community. They're representing themselves and their parties. They're representing the Democratic parties, they're representing the Republican parties. But when I ask people, are you a Democrat, or Republican, or an American? I meet people that struggle with this. And if you're telling me that when you're an American, you will respond to all people, no matter their age, their color, their skin, their race. They all deserve the equal representation that our country's told them that they will get. So I think as we get more people that not in the military that's running, there's 435 congressmen and only 80 are military.
I was wondering, I almost did the research. I got 435 congressmen, there's 535 members of Congress, 100 senators, of course.
Yes, correct.
And I was like, I should have looked up the military.
It's 80. So it's 82 specifically,
and
about 9% of that 82 is retirees.
Wow!
So it's extremely small. This is National Guard. This is Coast Guard. This is all branches. This is like a bold, And I think that's the thing is, these people, they run for whatever, but I'm not saying they don't know self-sacrifice, but nobody knows self-sacrifice like a soldier.
Sure.
For me, I've carried our country's flag into multiple battles. I've bled on 3 different continents for this nation, and I will continue to do that. It's just something I want to pick me first. I'm the first one in line of like, hey, this is going to be bad. I don't care, but I don't want, as long as that soldier don't have to do it, I'll do it, and put myself in that position. And I feel it's the same way. The people that are running for Congress are the lowest quality candidates. They're unlike, this should be our best. Unfortunately, what's going on with the president right now, that's not fair to him. I couldn't imagine my family allowing me to be that elderly and go up there and it's just not good for him. And I'm embarrassed for him, and that's not the way it should be. Our president should be the strongest, most bravest man, the most elegant speaking that we could have. Like I want to be mentored by the president.
Sure.
I want my son to have a photo on the wall. That's the kind of professional that we're looking for. But when we look at Congress, when we see how old they are, and the average age of an American is 38 years old, and the average average Mississippian is 37 years old. But when our congressmen are so much older, how do we get equal representation or adequate representation? To me, I believe that we're right now, our Congress people are in like 1965 mentality. And like the Republican Party is staying still, and we're breaking apart because we're not willing to adapt and overcome and like recruit younger people. We say we want to recruit younger people until they disagree with our ideology, and that's the issue. Like younger people today, they don't care about gay marriage. It's not a priority to them. They believe that women have the right to their own bodies, and everybody's like, we want younger Republicans, until they say something like that. And like, whoa. And that's what the issue is. The Republican Party must stay fluid. It must change. The Republican Party of today will not be the same party in 10 years. It has to change.
Things are always changing.
It has to. And if we try to hold on to those old mentalities, nobody wants to be a Republican anymore.
I think one of the problems that I've seen, and this is just an opinion piece, but one of the problems I've seen that is glaring. One, we have social media now, and so that is a division itself. It can be. Obviously, I use a lot of social media because of my platform, right? But in the end, anything that can be used for good can also be used for bad, and it is a way to spread news all over the place, right or wrong, good or bad. In addition to that, and this is what I've seen a lot of politicians do, and you've already touched on this a little bit, is they try to pit one versus the other. So it's so tribal. It's a tribal mentality. It's like, if you're not on this team, then you're against this team. Correct. And that idea of all of us are on the same team, but we may have different ideas. One of the things that drives me so crazy is just when a person finds out you don't agree with some version of something. It doesn't matter what it is. They're so offended that you have to have all these either phobias or whatever it is else on you, and you're labeled this thing, and it's whatever. Instead of, we can just have differences of opinion. Yeah,
and we can still go have a beer or coffee or whatever it is. It's like, hey, I don't agree with it. Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, tell me why. Like we can learn from one another. That's where
I was going with this, is the idea of that's exactly where I was going with this, was instead of asking why do you see it that way? It's, you're wrong because of. That's it. And when you attack that way, nobody's ever going to change. Nothing's going to ever be different, and it's only going to get more polarized.
Correct. And like the best way for me to explain it in a military idea is like, me and you are in a foxhole, and I'm facing this way, and you're facing this way, and I'm like, contact, we got enemy coming from this side. And you're like, I don't see nothing. There's nothing. There ain't no enemy over there.
Right.
There's no enemy in my sector of fire. Why would I? I don't need to. And I'm telling you right now, we are about to be overran, and you don't care because you don't see it. That's not your. We have to trust one another, the Democrats and the Republican, to look at different levels and see, different problems. And if we're not willing to say, hey, brother, because the left wing and the right wing is the same bird. And that's what it is. It was like, tell me what you need from me to help you be more successful. And it should be like that. But I do believe that, our Congress, our elected officials are playing games with us in the sense of like, watch this magic show with this hand while they do something else and they push their own personal agenda.
Well, sure.
They want us divided. I mean, you subcompartmentalize people and you do whatever you want. And, they preach to the choir, to the same people, instead of explaining yourself. It's like, we got to board up the windows to keep them out. And the other group's like, we got to kill them before they get in here.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the different mentality? So
when you have that strong line of division all the time, it never leaves room for unity.
Yeah.
And, when you just use the analogy of the left wing and the right wing and they're on the same bird, that's why you got to get to the center, because guess what's in the middle?
Correct.
The heart.
Correct.
And if you don't get to the heart of the problem and you don't work together, then nothing will ever be accomplished. You think about I'm a coach, so this plays. So as a coach, if I have half my team fighting against the other half of my team, we're not going to win a single game.
Nope.
And guess what? The idea is to win the game as a team.
Correct.
You got to win as a team.
Yep.
And the only way to do that is to be together. And even if my pitcher doesn't agree with what my catcher just did, they're going to have to work it out, because we got to get together in order to win the game. I think life is the same way. I think our country is the same way. If we're not working to work together, if the idea is to work to beat the other person all the time, and you're not thinking of this as a complete compartment, America should be the focus. We should make ourselves number one for us. And to the thing that we talked about earlier, when we make ourselves better and we do it with the intention to make other people better, then everybody wins. If America's strong and safe, other countries are strong and safe.
Correct.
I mean, you're going for Congress. I'm not, but it seems like that's a common thread idea.
It should be simple. You know what I mean?
It should be.
But the thing is that, like, what I've learned is, as I'm doing this and, I'm getting more involved into the congressional levels, is we talk about like, oh, we want a young candidate that's got a military background with fresh ideas, and we want to get them in there and get new, fresh blood. Well, okay, well, here I am. Well, yeah, we don't mean it.
It's a talking point.
Yeah, it just means you actually.
I've got to have a bullet point in my resume.
And then so, I'm like, here I am.
Yeah.
And you would think that like people would be knocking down the walls to get a hold to me, but it's quite the opposite.
Yeah.
The Republicans are mad at me. The Democrats are mad at me.
That means you're doing something right.
Yeah, I know. That's my favorite part, because each party's like, this is our agenda. You must follow these 3 or 4 or 5 rules. I ain't following nobody's rules. I'll follow the American people's rules. And, that's the thing. I will follow the American people's rules. A party will not define me. It never will. Either whatever party is, they cannot and will not define me. I've been controlled by the military for 20 years and told me what I could and could not say. And I got plenty to say now. Yeah. I got plenty to say, and they have to listen to me because I know their secrets. I know, the toxicity that's going on in our government and in our militaries and everything, and it's all rotting us all out as a whole. And that's the thing, is like, we're being manipulated at the voter level by people that are way ahead of us. And they're like, look at them, they're after you. No, they're not. You're after us. And for me, it's just, I just want to find a way to be a voice for everybody. I'm just a normal person. I'm just a soldier that retired from the military that is now willing to put his head out there and say, hey, I got nothing to lose. And then they're like, well, you don't have enough money to run. Well, you're right. I don't have enough money to run.
That actually was on my bullet, so I got to get back to that. I got to ask, how do you get started on it? But I don't want to ruin your thoughts. Sorry.
No, I'll lead you right into it then.
Okay.
And that's what we do. How do you run? And it's like, well, after you make a decision, you need to raise at least $5,000. Like once you raise $5,000, you got to report it to the FEC, the Federal Election Commission. And so I had to call all my soldiers. I said, well, hey guys, I want to run for Congress, but I need to raise some money. The first $5,000 that I raised came 100% from active duty soldiers. They gave me their beer money. They gave me their cigarette money, their Red Bull money. They were like,
don't waste this, man.
They're like, I'm not going to be able to buy a pack of cigarettes because of you. So please do this for me. But that's the thing. And then when we look at the FEC reports, the financial reports, they come in every 90 days. I have to file a new report and say how much money I brought in, how much money I spent, how it comes. And it's broke down in 5,000 up, then it's like 3,000 and up to 5,000 and so forth. But the one that counts the most is $0 to $200 donations. How much money did you receive from $0 to $200 donations? With 3 candidates in Congressman Ezell, me, and the other opponent. Congressman Ezell has unlimited money. He's from Washington, D.C. He's got money coming from California, all over the place. And then my other opponent, this is the 3rd time he's ran, and he puts $523,000 of his own money up every single time. This is the 3rd time he's done this.
Dang.
3 years and 3 cycles in a row. And then here comes McGill. I came in with 0 money. My soldiers that we all teamed up, they all threw me in. I was able to raise $5,000. And then when we look at the numbers, the first time we did the financial reports, Congressman Ezell that raised $400,000 only beat me in the $200 donations by $400.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, that's crazy. And, and the other guy, the third opponent, he didn't raise any money in the $0 to $200. And so we just did another one here recently, January. And Congressman Ezell only outraised me in the $0 to $200 mark by $1,800. And I beat the other guy again. So I took 2nd place, I guess. And the point is, it's the normal people. It's the little guy that I can't afford a $20 donation. It's the ones that's funding my campaign. They're the ones donating to me. They're not donating to these other guys. Now, if you look at, Congressman Ezell's $5,000 or, donation, he got $101,000 and I think like $5,000 donations. Like he took I don't even know what $101,000 looks like.
It's a lot of money.
I would be sick to my stomach to spend it. For example, he spent $175,000 on signs, just on signs. I could win this whole campaign with $175,000 because my message is proper. But when I work with, I see that, and the money is the struggle, but the people that matter are voting for me. But when I'm not being backed by political action committees, super PACs and things like that. They're getting all this money from these people, and I'm out here, like I'm being supported by Patriots for so-and-so, or, whatever they are is supporting these candidates that have tons and tons of money already, but they're not representing the people properly. For them, it's just they just want it for status. And me, I want the system to be burned down. I want to start again with fresh ideas and fresh perspectives. I want congressmen to have term limits so that we can get younger people. Me and you should be running for Congress, not them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What is this, District 1? I think we're in Congressional District 1, maybe.
I think it is 1.
I should be in 4, and you should be in 1, and we should be working together, collaborating together to make Mississippi the best place possible. Mississippi ranks number 10 in human trafficking. Human trafficking is number 2 of the most lucrative crimes in the United States. You got drugs and then human trafficking. How is that possible? Why can't we all agree that we should stop that?
It seems like that's a no-brainer.
That's a simple bill.
That's an easy yes.
We should make it bad,
yeah.
And then we got human trafficking coming over the border that's wide open. So we got fentanyl that's coming over the border, and that is our number 1 drug here in the United States. It's killing us, and it's being imported from China. It's coming through the Mexican cartels. It's coming this way because the border's wide open. And when we talk about that, like, how do we shut down the border? Well, the president has to shut down the border. The money's there, the resources, the bills, the laws are all there, but the president has to be like, all right, McGill, get the military, let's shut this down. But until that happens, I mean, I can tell you, I hear on the campaign trail all the time, it's like, I'm going to go to Congress and I'm going to close the border. That's impossible. Now you're telling people lies. You're saying whatever you want them to hear. Sure. But then when they hold you accountable, like, he lied to us. Well, he gave you a false promise that was impossible. For me, I don't believe in it. I am going to go fight for what I can and how I can do it, and just continue that way. It's just like, I just want to be the right guy for the job. I don't want to stay there forever. I don't want to do that. I want to keep my head down, pass some bills that are right for Mississippians, that are focused on Mississippians. And, that's what we need right now. We need people like me and you to run for Congress. Like, I wish I could convince you to run for I will start a podcast. I will bring you onto my podcast.
I would love to come on your podcast. I don't know if I could get my wife to sign off so easily, but yes, I get what you're saying. But in the end, though, I think, what you're sharing with me and what I have understood is, it takes people that are brave enough to fight against the system. And the system is that if you're not on the inside, it's going to be tough to get funded. Correct. And I think that that's really the big message here is the fact that there probably are people like you that have that same passion and desire, and they don't know where to start, but then they see the mountain they have to climb, and they think to themselves, how will I ever beat that person or that person? I don't have namesake. I don't have financial backing. And so, that's probably the thing that cuts off a lot of individuals. I have a friend that started down that road and he ran for Congress. I have another friend that ran for Mississippi governor. But when you don't have the big name and you don't have the big funding, you get cut out quick. And so,
they know that.
That's one of those things
they do it on purpose.
Absolutely. That's one of those things that I don't know where social media can make a big cut into that kind of thing, is where a person can get the free exposure and spread their name quick enough to be able to rise in the ranks, to be able to have opportunities to do the serving like what you're talking about, which comes from the heart. And ultimately, that is the reason why people, in the end, I think so many politicians forget they are supposed to be working for the people. Yeah. They're supposed to be in that office to do the best that they can for those that they are representing. And I don't think it's a stretch to say that we see that across the country from both parties, where so often it is self-serving. It is not the idea of what is best for my constituents. It is what is best for me personally in my career. And that has to change at some point. And I am so proud to say that at least I know one person that is in the fight right now, and I do wish you the best. And in the end, if nothing else, and this is what a friend of mine that did come on running for another seat, I've slept, it's been a few months, but he was running for another seat and he didn't make it, but he said, if nothing else, maybe I will put out there the message that needs to be heard, so that the person that does get in this position will take some consideration to it. So if nothing else, he was hopefully spreading the message. We are getting close to the end here. And one thing I always like to wrap up with before we walk out is I want to give some quick statistics. So you're running for the 4th Congressional District of Congress, which is basically the Boot Heel of Mississippi.
Correct, yeah. Like Laurel, Mississippi, down Jones County, all the way down.
All the way down to the
12
coast.
Counties.
It's got, and I had 760, but you gave 770, 780,000 people.
That's close to be that,
The state of Mississippi only has around 3 million, so you're roughly 25% of the state. And in the end, that is, you can have a huge impact whenever you can at least influence a quarter of a state. So being able to get in office and being able to do the things that need to be done to help those citizens, and maybe that'll start a wildfire across the whole state, that could start across the entire nation. And whenever I have a person in front of me that I have listened to for the last hour not come up with an excuse of why you can't do something, and has taken that first step, no matter what it was, that you believe you can do something, but you just got to move forward and you got to start today, not yesterday. That is what it's going to take, my friends, to make a difference in this world. So is there anything you want to leave my listeners with as we start to wrap up?
Yeah, I think a couple things. For example, you got to be a mentor yourself, your personal mentor. I have a son. I want my son to be the future leader of America, and it might be a city council member, it might be a Boy Scout, it might be a teacher, but I want him to have those leadership skills, and that we all have these skills, and we just got to reach around, grab everybody we can, and say, hey, come with me to the top. Because there's, the whole reason to become great is to bring people with you. You can, that's my thing. I tell people all the time, like, if you want to be a doctor, hang out with doctors. You want to be an astronaut, hang out with astronauts. You cannot want to be an astronaut, hang out with other people.
Sure.
You got to find people that want to achieve, that want to be like that, and you take them and they force you to the top. You force them to the top. Everybody wins, but you got to surround yourself by strong, powerful people or inspirational people. And if you can do that, no one can stop you. Like,
that's right.
Me, I'm running for Congress, and with no background in anything, and I'm confident in what I'm doing. Right or wrong, win or lose, the people that were with me, I will take with me to the top, because they deserve that. They believed in me, and I have to believe in them. It just giving people opportunities of a lifetime, and that's your job. It's your job as a leader to say, hey, I see your strength in this. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to help you out with there. So, that's it. Just like stay motivated and dedicated. Find a passion that you're involved in. And I really do believe that the meaning of life is to find purpose.
Absolutely.
And mine is to provide for people, and just kind of take care of the weak, in that sense. So find your passion, find your purpose, and just wreck them. Just wreck them.
That's right. I got news for you. We all do have a purpose, and don't leave your gift on the table. We're only given so many years on this earth. Take advantage of it. do the most good you can, and hopefully the next generation coming behind you will pick up that
Yes.
and move forward. Well, Mr. McGill, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
so
out
much, man.
all the way up here to Hernando, Mississippi. Share a little bit of your story.
Thank you. I Mississippi's big. It's long.
You've traveled the whole thing now. You come from the
did.
bottom to the top.
I know.
Maybe that's going to be your mantra.
Maybe
Okay,
that's
I
what it is.
started on the bottom, and now I don't know that rap song, but it's still
I
something
got
like
it
that.
written down. But
Okay.
right now our motto is "Stay American."
Yeah.
But we're willing to change it if it's the right.
All
thing
right,
comes
stay
along.
American
Yeah.
and from the bottom to the top. All right, so but it's like got to have something in there. But hey, to all my listeners, thank you guys for always tuning in. Your support means so much to me. I absolutely look. This is like a dream come true for me to be able to sit here with good people from America to be able to talk about things from Australia. We had a person from Australia not long ago. All over the world. I love you guys. Continue to tune in. Continue to support. Please go to my website, motivatewithcoachcamp.com. Continue to tune in, and until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's